What do a busking Irish musician and an Oscar-winning film have in common? Glen Hansard, the Archangel of Ballymun. You are not ready for this one. Hi, I'm Emma, and I'm feeling totally inspired today. Like, heart on sleeve, guitar on back, let's go. So, picture this. Ballymun in Dublin gives us a kid who quits school at 13 to busk. Fast forward, that same kid co-writes an Oscar-winning song, Falling Slowly, from the indie film Once. That's Glen Hansard. Singer, songwriter, actor, and honestly, one of those rare people whose art and activism are glued together in the best way. He led the Irish rock band The Frames, teamed up with Czech musician Markéta Irglova in the Swell season, and then, because overachiever energy, dropped acclaimed solo albums on the Anti label. And yes, he's the guy with the beat-up Takamine acoustic called The Horse. Iconic, not cute, road-worn, and honest. Let me set the scene with a little story. Years ago, I'm speed-walking through the city, latte in one hand, chaos in my head. And there's this busker on the corner. No signage, no PR team, just a cracked voice, a scuffed guitar, and a crowd that won't move. He's doing a cover of a pop song, and it's like, suddenly not mid. It's devastating. Beautiful, a total vibe. People are missing trains just to stay in this moment. Which brings me to why that mattered. The stakes for him were real. In a city that will walk right past you, even if you're on fire, he had to make strangers stop. Not with fireworks, with truth. And that's when I clocked why buskers can be lethal in the best way. If they can win a sidewalk, they can win any room. That's Glen to me. He learned to read hearts before he read set lists. Authenticity is a flex, and when you have it, honey, the crowd gives you their day. Okay, let's move on. Who is Glen Hansard, basically? He's a multi-hyphenate, Irish singer-songwriter and actor. Think of him like the busker who never put down the tip jar spirit, even when the stages got huge. In the 90s, he formed The Frames, a cornerstone of Ireland's alt scene. In 2007, he co-starred in Once, a low-budget Irish film that becomes a global kismet moment. The song Falling Slowly wins the Oscar. Then he kept going. Folk rock duo The Swell season, and multiple solo albums like Didn't He Ramble, which even snagged a Grammy nomination. High-key career. Timeline, speedrun. Early 90s, The Frames are grinding. In 1991, he pops up in The Commitments, that BAFTA-recognized film by director Alan Parker, as the guitarist Outspan. Very cheeky, very Dublin. Mid-2000s, he and Markéta Irglova released The Swell season, then Once premiered at Sundance in 2007, winning the Audience Award and, boom, the Oscar in 2008. 2010s, he's solo with Auntie, touring everywhere. Cameos on TV like The Simpsons in 2009 as, wait for it, an Irish busker, and Parenthood in 2012 as himself. 2020s, more albums, more activism, and collaborations. He passed in 2026 at 56 after a motorcycle crash near Dublin. The tributes were huge, with Bono from U2 even calling him the Archangel of Ballymun. I'm not crying, you are. Now, people matter, and Glen's circle is stacked. Markéta Irglova first. She's a Czech singer-songwriter and pianist. They met in 2001 at a festival her parents organized. Years later, during the Once press in 2007, they briefly dated, then ended it after about 2 years, and stayed creative partners. If I were Glen, working with Markéta must have been like finding your echo. Not louder, just truer. Together, they won that Oscar for Falling Slowly. They put out Strict Joy in 2009, and, wait for it, they came back with Forward in 2025. That's staying power. That's friendship goals. Eddie Vedder next. He's the frontman of Pearl Jam, grunge royalty. Glen toured with him in 2011, and again in 2022. We love a bromance with guitars. They even co-wrote songs for Flag Day in 2021, a film project where Vedder curated the music. Glen's credits there earned attention from the Hollywood Music and Media Awards. If I were Glen, hopping on stage with Eddie is like being handed the stadium keys. You either slay or go home. He slayed. Bruce Springsteen, the American rock legend, invited Glen up in Kilkenny in 2013. That's not a casual collab, that's a knighting. And Bono, the U2 frontman and very loud Irish conscience, joins him on cause songs like Take Heart in 2022 with Marketa and Ukrainian refugees, a humanitarian track that felt like a hand on your shoulder. Then there's Lisa Hannigan, the Irish singer with the velvet voice, who recorded On Love with him, and Lisa O'Neill, the fierce Irish folk singer, who sang Fairy Tale of New York with Glenn at Shane MacGowan's funeral in 2023, backed by members of the Pogues, the legendary Irish folk punk band. That's community, not just celebrity. Ed Sheeran, the global pop star with Irish roots in his sound, brought Glenn out at Croke Park in 2015. That's the national flex. Stadium-sized Irish classics. Goosebumps. And Bob Dylan, the American songwriting icon, had the Frames supporting him on tour in 2007. Glenn literally called Dylan, Van Morrison, and Leonard Cohen his holy trinity. Van Morrison, the Northern Irish soul poet. Leonard Cohen, Canada's gentlest scalpel. Dylan, the oracle. If I were Glenn, that's like getting a cosign from your own Mount Rushmore. Also, the man could cover. On Irish radio comps, he turned Justin Timberlake's Cry Me a River and Britney Spears' Every Time into haunted folk confessions. That's a power move. When you can strip a pop banger to bone and it still walks, you are a songwriter's songwriter. And yes, he lugged the horse, that scarred Takamine NP15, onto epic stages like Pearl Jam's PJ20 Festival in 2011. The guitar looked like it had a passport full of stamps and a few bar fights under its belt. Big mood. Okay, pause, because this next part is everything. The big what if. What if Glenn had stayed in school instead of busking? My take? The busking was the secret sauce. When you're 13 and the street is your stage, you learn volume control for human hearts. You clock when a song lands. You lose ego fast. He even connected with the Hare Krishna movement while busking, a Hindu devotional community focused on service and chanting. You can hear that spirit in his charity work. Less rock star, more neighbor with a megaphone. Now, I am not saying dropout is the move for everyone. Chill. I'm saying his unconventional path made the art. Busking taught him to read a room. Activism taught him to read a city. He led a Christmas Eve charity busk in Dublin for years in aid of the Dublin Simon Community, a homelessness organization. And he literally participated in the Apollo House occupation in 2016 and 2017, a controversial but attention-grabbing protest about housing. Add in anti-austerity marches, water charges protests in 2014, solidarity with Ukraine in 2025. That's not performative. That's receipts. The legacy once didn't just sit on DVD shelves. It jumped to the stage. The musical adaptation put those intimate songs in front of Broadway-style audiences, and the cast album even won a Grammy in 2013 for Best Musical Theater Album. I love the stage version because, it proves these songs aren't fragile. They're portable. They bloom in new rooms. That's rare. That's why he still hits in 2020's playlists without feeling retro. And while we're here, shout out to the screen cameos that kept his story looping back to film. Cyrano in 2021, a Golden Globe-nominated film where he shows up on screen. And back in 1991, The Commitments, that BAFTA-recognized gem. The man kept 1 foot on stage, 1 foot on screen, and both hands on the guitar. Tell me that's not a brand. Okay, what's next? Next time, we're digging into another musician-turned-actor. Think Lady Gaga, the pop powerhouse who slid into Oscars territory with A Star is Born. The crossover is spicy, and I have thoughts. So that's the tea, folks. We'll pick this up next time. Later.